Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to compare the Hoka Mafate 5 with the Hoka Mafate X. So as always, we'll be going over objective testing scores. We'll tell you which shoe best suits your needs and which one is rated better overall. As always, we are unsponsored. We bought these shoes with our own money and all of our opinions are our own. So let's get right into it. Price-wise, there's a big difference. The Mafate 5 comes in at $185, while the Mafate X is $220. So $35 difference. Let's see if the $35 upgrade is actually worth it. Comfort-wise, let's talk about the Mafate X first. So it has an extremely large stack height at 49 millimeters. I really felt this kind of had a floaty feeling to it when I first tried these on because of the massive stack height. Obviously, the impact absorption is substantial with these, so if you have any sore ankles, joints, anything like that, these are definitely great for impact absorption, especially when you're pounding on the trail. Obviously, that's great for comfort, but runners looking for more responsiveness and sensitivity, not so great. You do not get a great trail feel with either of these shoes because of the massive stack height. It's got a nice roomy toe box with a nice contoured upper, as you can see here. There's a nice TPEE sock liner, which is nice and sleek. It's definitely more versatile and not as scratchy as a lot of the inners of the shoes as you'll see in the trail running sections. But overall, this is easily one of the most comfortable trail runners out there. Now let's talk about the Mafate 5. It has a 35 millimeter stack height, so slightly smaller, but again, it's that Hoka outsole, which is massive when you compare it to any other trail running shoe. So both of these outsoles are nice and cushioned. I will say with the Mafate 5, the compression of this outsole is a lot more apparent when you compare it to the X. The X cushioning is very apparent, as you can see, but I will say it's more stiff and not as compressive. That definitely helps you on the trail when we get into the stability and support section. Otherwise, the Mafate 5, the upper is not as comfortable when you compare it to the X. There's not a nice sleek sock liner. You just feel the kind of scratchy upper in here. And this one has the dynamic vamp, as you can see here. It allows nice swelling in the toe box, things like that, especially when you're on the trail. The Mafate 5 is slightly slimmer than the X. The X definitely is for more wide-footed runners, as you can see, and it allows a little bit more expansion for sure. One annoying aspect of both of these shoes, unfortunately, is the tongue. As you can see, it's too short, too thin, and not well padded enough. So it starts to fall into the shoe as you're running, which I hate. And as you can see, it's on the Mafate 5 as well, unfortunately. So it did not upgrade the tongue, which I really wish they would have on both of these models. Overall, we rated the Mafate X coming in for comfort a 5 out of 5, while the 5 gets a 4.5 out of 5. So just as a quick aside, there's links down below in the description to buy these with the lowest possible price, plus possible discounts. It takes you directly to Hoka.com as if you went there yourself. You're just using our link to get you there, and we get a little bit of credit for that for unsponsored reviews. All right, back to the review. Now let's talk traction. Both of these have a Vibram Mega Grip outsole, but they actually vary quite differently. As you take a look at the Mafate X here, it has more pizza-shaped lugs, as you can see throughout the outsole. They're only 3.5 millimeters, so this worked great on most terrain except for technical trails. However, it was definitely better than the Mafate 5 on technical trails because of that stiffer outsole, even though it is a higher stack height. Plus, there's other reasons, which we'll get into in a second, of why it was better on technical terrain. Otherwise, these held great grip. They did not shed the mud or anything that kind of stuck like gunk to these shoes because they were not as aggressive as the Mafate 5. The Mafate 5, as you'll see, they have nice little rubber projections here that are like micro spikes throughout the lugs. These are 5 millimeters in depth. Again, this traction is more aggressive than the Mafate X, and I would say it's not as versatile, but it's definitely great for any mild to moderate terrain. Perfect for that, especially on those wet trails. So overall, the Mafate 5 is definitely the grip monster out of this category, while the Mafate X is more of a versatile traction shoe, but it's definitely a workhorse as well. It's better for those road to trail transitions and more for those ultra runners out there because it's nice and unique when it comes to grip on different varied surfaces. So traction wise, the X gets a 4 out of 5, while the Mafate 5 gets a 4.5 out of 5. So breathability wise, a lot of both of these uppers are actually the same. They're made with with a warped knit upper. The Mafate X was slightly more breathable in hotter weather. As you can see, there's more mesh pockets throughout here for better ventilation. When you compare it to the Mafate 5, there's not as many ventilation pockets throughout the shoe. So not the biggest difference, but in terms of breathability, the Mafate X was just slightly better, coming in at a 4.5 out of 5, while the 5 gets a 4 out of 5. And one important point about the upper here, it is definitely more robust on the Mafate X. It is kind of like the Norda 1, if anybody's seen that review. It's not the Dyneema upper, however, it is more robust like the Dyneema upper for sure. The structural integrity of it is much better than the Mafate 5. As you can see, I press my hand in here and it just collapses, where the Mafate X doesn't collapse as well because it is so robust. So the biggest differentiator between these two shoes is going to be stability and support. So let's start with the Mafate 5. So this shoe, unfortunately, it's not unfortunate for some people, has a 8mm heel to toe drop, which is actually a 4mm increase from the Mafate Speed 4, which so many people loved. So definitely great for heel strikers, but if you're a forefoot striker, midfoot striker, not so great for you. What doesn't make sense is they don't have a heel shank for people who are heel strikers, obviously, but they have a forefoot shank, which is good if you're forefoot striking, but again, this shoe is made for people who are heel strikers because of that heel to toe drop. Otherwise, it has a nice contoured heel bed here, it kind of hugs your heel nice and well. I wish they had engineered this shoe slightly differently, and I think it would have gotten a better stability and support score for sure. Now, when you take a look at the Mafate X here, it has this active rear focused foot frame, which really adds that torsional stability here. I'm really pressing on this shoe. So the hindfoot stability in this one is great. It has a 7mm heel to toe drop, so good for heel strikers again, but it has a more aggressive heel cup here within the shoe, really cups your heel and comes up over your footbed, so you don't lose any of that internal control. I tend to overpronate when I run, and this definitely helps prevent me from overpronating on the trail. Both of these shoes have the Hoka Meta Rocker, as you can see, so it's that subtle curvature in the shoe. The Mafate X has a more aggressive curvature in the shoe, so definitely helps with that forward heel to toe transition a little bit better than the Mafate 5 overall. But getting back to the stability, the Mafate X obviously kills it with a stability and support score of a 4.5, while the 5 only gets a 3 out of 5. And then just to add to that, look at these lines from the compression of the Mafate 5 already. So again, not the best for technical trails because of that over compression. It's too mushy. It's not always about how high the stack height is, but it depends on how stiff that stack height is. Look how mushy this is, and it's a less stack height than the X, not as mushy. So definitely a big difference there when it comes to technical trails, so you don't lose your grip and stability. So let's talk durability now. So if you're spending $185 to $220 on a trail shoe, you obviously want them to last. So with the Mafate 5, I was a little impressed with how well this outsole is held up over 50 miles. You can see those micro spikes are there. Those are usually the first to wear on these kind of trail shoes. It hasn't flattened out on the outsole or anything like that, but that over compression, like I said, I'm starting to get lines on the medial side of the shoe. Not great because that outsole will begin to flatten out over time. I was pretty impressed with the upper, no scratches or overlays, anything crazy, no delamination here. So I'm a little concerned about the toe box here. I can easily see some delamination happening in the future because the welding here is not very robust when you compare it to other shoes. So that's something to keep in mind. So the Mafate X is a little bit different story here. Take a look at the 3.5mm lugs. No wear, nothing like that. There's not those compression lines that you see on the Mafate 5. And the upper, like I said, it's definitely more durable and reinforced than when you compare it to the 5 here. So durability-wise, they're actually pretty good for both shoes overall. But the Mafate X so far is the winner here just because of that nice stiff upper that hasn't really compressed down yet. Weight-wise, the Mafate 5 comes in at 11.5 ounces, while the X is 1 ounce heavier at 12.5. Overall, though, it's more about the feel on the trail. With this more aggressive rocker, I felt more pop and bounce in my stride. So overall, this one definitely felt lighter on my feet feet, especially because of that aggressive rocker. So we actually just reviewed the Cascadia 19, which was under 10 ounces, and I would say this feels like it's actually under 10 ounces, even with that massive stack height. So weight-wise, they both tied. However, I would say the Mafate X definitely feels much better. So now that we add up all of our scores, we have the Mafate 5 coming in with an 8.2 out of 10, while the Mafate X gets an 8.9 out of 10. So overall, both pretty good trail shoes. I was a little disappointed with the Mafate 5, as you can see in my individual review. Did not like the new heel to toe drop. I think the massive stack height's too much and too mushy, as you can see here. I really like the Vibram Mega Grip design here. It's very aggressive, as you can see with this tread pattern, but if they reduce the stack height just a little bit and reduce that heel to toe drop, I think this would have scored much better. Overall, the Mafate X is easily our most comfortable trail shoe out there. Again, it's okay on technical trails, but if you're looking for something that has more responsiveness, more sensitivity, look at a lower stack height model. But overall, whoever wants like a really cushioned trail runner out there, you can also use this as a hiking shoe because of the nice tread pattern and the versatility. I'd definitely go after the Mafate X. So like I said, if you want to purchase any of these, there's links down below in the description at the lowest price and possible discounts. I also have my own individual reviews, as you can see on our website at mountaineerjourney.com, so visit that if you'd like. And also please like and subscribe to this channel. Again, we are trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and we really appreciate your support and comments throughout these past few years, and we will continue to grow this channel with our unsponsored reviews. Thank you, everybody.